welcome to my booktube channel. My name is Sarah and today I'm going to be coming at you with all of the books that I read in the month of September. I read 11 books this month, which is actually really great for me. It's not a record, but I am very proud of it, so without further ado, let's get into the books. The first book that I read in the month of September was Good as Gone by Amy something, I can't remember her last name. This is a mystery slash thriller about a mother whose daughter was kidnapped when she was 13 years old and she has only recently been returned to her as a grown woman. The problem is her mother is not entirely sure if it's actually her daughter. I love thrillers and this one was really disturbing. Unfortunately, sort of the big reveal I had already figured out from pretty early on in the novel. Otherwise it would have been a full 5 stars. It was still incredibly thrilling and fast-paced and I loved the way it was written, and so for that reason I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in September was Wonder Woman Iron. I have been slowly making my way through this series this year and I have been really enjoying it up until this point. I gave this volume a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month was My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Fredrik Backman. You've probably seen this book a lot on my channel, and that is because I received this as a part of booktube tours from Grace over at Loving Den Books and Simon & Schuster. This book follows a 7-year-old girl by the name of Elsa who is a little bit strange, and she is fully understood and loved by her grandmother, who is also incredibly strange. They get along swimmingly, but unfortunately Elsa's grandmother passes away, leaving behind a series of letters for Elsa herself to deliver. This book is whimsical and wonderful, and I have a full spoiler-free review of this up on my channel, so if you are interested in watching it, I will link it down below as well as on the screen. Naturally, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month is something that everybody and their mother has read this month, and that is Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 5th book in the Throne of Glass series. The whole time that I was reading this, I was paranoid that I was going to rip the pages because they are so thin. This is nearly 700 pages. I really loved it. There are obviously a lot of problems with this series, and I'm not negating those in any way. I see the problems, I acknowledge them, but I still really am enjoying this series. I did end up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I also got to meet Sarah J. Maas this month, and I have a whole vlog of this signing, so if you are interested in watching that, I will link it down below as well as on the screen. The next book that I read this month was Dark Horses by Cecily von something that I really don't want to try to pronounce because I feel like I'm gonna butcher it. I was sent this as a part of booktube tours from Grace over at Loving Den Books and Soho Teen. This book is about a girl named Merit Winner who is having a really rough time. She walked out of the SATs, she's grieving over the death of her grandmother and her horse. She basically has a mental breakdown, and so her parents decide to send her to this place called Good Fences, which is an equine assisted therapy program. There she meets a horse named Red, who she instantly feels a connection to, and together they go on the hunter-jumper circuit. This was a very interesting book. I liked the writing style, and I thought the dual perspective was a bold choice. I have a full spoiler-free review of this book up if you're interested. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month was A Walk to Remember by Nicholas Sparks. I've never read a Nicholas Sparks book before, but I thought that I would give it a try because he's so famous, and I had actually watched the movie, which I really enjoyed. I did not really like this book. I thought the concept was interesting, and I feel like the characters had potential. I love Jamie, she's a precious little cinnamon roll, but the main character is an asshole and I couldn't get into it. I give it 2.5 out of 5 stars.
When my haters, I don't got 'em, I'm not famous, no. But I don't hate it though.
The next book that I read this month was How to Hang a Witch by Adriana Mather. This book follows a girl by the name of Samantha who is the descendant of a man who was responsible for the Salem witch trials. That turns out to be greatly unfortunate when she moves back to Salem with her stepmother and faces a great amount of animosity from all of the girls who are descendants of the Salem witches. There were a lot of typical YA tropes in this book. I liked some of them and I disliked others. There's sort of a love triangle, which I hate, but there's also that new girl in a new town sort of feel, which I can appreciate at times. I loved the plot. It was twisty, it was turny. I feel like this author has a lot more ahead of her. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. stars. The next book that I read this month was Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. It's like a book filled with writing advice. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month was The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh. That is the sequel to The Wrath and the Dawn, which I read last month, I think, and really enjoyed. I didn't love this one quite as much. I gave that one 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I read this month is actually a play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by J.K. Rowling, Jack Thorne, and somebody else. It felt a lot like fan fiction to me. That doesn't mean that I didn't like it, because I did. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And the last and final book that I read this month was Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This book is really hard to describe, so I'm not even going to try. It's like urban fantasy, starring this main girl named Karou who has blue hair, and she's really amazing, and I loved her. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. So those are all the books that I read in the month of September. You guys should let me know down below some of your favorite books that you read in the month of September. If you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. I post new videos twice a week. If you guys would like to follow me on Twitter or any of my social medias, I will leave the links to those in the description box below. As always, most of all, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye!